Welcome back everyone. Today we are going to take a look at a 2018 American cannibal horror film, called The Farm. At the beginning of the film, we are introduced to a young couple from Los Angeles, Nora and Alec. While driving through the countryside on a road trip, the couple gets lost. Upon seeing a way station, Nora makes Alec pull over so she can use the restroom. However, when they approach the way station, they find it closed. Nora leaves Alec in the car and goes to the backside of the station to take a leak. On the backside, she finds an abandoned tent with people's belongings, such as clothes and a wallet still inside. As she crouches by the side of the tent, a human skull is seen hidden in the tall grass a few feet ahead. When Nora returns to the car, she tells Alec about the tent. She remarks that it's very strange that someone would just leave their belongings behind that way. Alec brushes it off, saying the owners must probably have left in a hurry. Further on, the couple comes across a woman standing by the roadside, whose car has just died. Alec, being the sweetheart he is, offers to help the woman jump-start her car. The woman takes up his offer and Alec gets busy with her car. While Alec is away, the woman asks Nora, "Where is her ring?" The question irks Nora and she states that their relationship is none of her business. The woman gets rude and starts insulting the couple. Nora remarks that she's being rude to the people who only stopped by to help. The woman simply remarks that Alec doesn't even know what he's doing. Just then, Alec declares that he's not able to start the car. The woman scoffs and gives Nora a "told you so" look. Nora tells Alec to leave immediately. Alec apologizes to the woman and gets back in the car. On the road, Nora tells Alec this is exactly why she doesn't like his too sweet and helpful nature. Alec tries to calm her down and says that the woman must have probably had a bad day. A while later, the two come across a diner. They head in and have a meal. Alec notices a man staring at them in a creepy way and tells Nora about this. Nora remarks that he's just a weirdo, thus brushing it off. While they're heading out, the guy grabs Nora's arm and tells her that they are not safe here. Nora frees herself from his grasp and leaves. Next, the couple makes a stop at a gas station. Alec asks the cashier inside if he knows a place to lodge. The cashier directs them to some cabins a few miles ahead, saying they're being rented out cheap. They follow his directions and find a few rustic cabins by the roadside. Nora starts getting a bad feeling and asks Alec to leave. Alec, however, insists on checking out the place once before they leave. They enter the cabins to find them empty. Nora again insists they leave, but Alec doesn't pay much heed and takes her upstairs. Upstairs, they find an unkempt man crouched on the floor. Upon noticing them, the man turns, revealing his crooked face. He welcomes them and gets up. Alec tells him that they need to stay for a night. The landlord takes them to their room and starts making small talk. Alec engages in the conversation. However, Nora finds the man disturbing and cuts the dialogue short. After she somewhat rudely tells the landlord to leave them to rest, the landlord heads out, slamming the door harshly on his way out. Alec is put off by Nora's divisiveness towards their host, yet his companion feels something is off about him. Unbeknownst to the couple, the top bunk bed of the room is bloodstained. As the pair falls to a slumber at night, a man wearing a sheet mask emerges from under their bed and looms over them menacingly. The next morning, Nora awakens to find herself in a wire dog cage. She panics and attempts to break free while shouting Alec's name. A man in a goat mask approaches her and thumps the cage to silence her. After this, he leaves without a word. Nora spots a rock lying near the cage. With difficulty, she manages to squeeze her hand through the mesh and grabs the rock. She attempts to break open the lock of her cage with this rock. However, the goat man returns shortly with another masked man, preventing her escape. A cow-masked man pours a liquid from a canister over her and knocks her out. When she awakens next, Nora finds herself in a barn, strapped to a chair with her legs parted. A rabbit-masked vet comes and forcibly inseminates her using a syringe. Two men then enter the barn and take her outside, where they lock her up in a cage again. The cage is pulled by a masked man through what appears to be a town inhabited by several of these masked people. She spots numerous masked people casually going about their routines, not paying even the tiniest heed to this human being pulled in a cage, not animal. To her horror, she even finds a male corpse hanging to a hook like a slaughtered animal, while his innards are being butchered by a masked man nearby. Nora is taken to the stables and is locked inside. Alec awakens to find himself gagged and stripped of his clothes in a cage. He looks around to find several other men, locked up in cages just as himself. The masked men come in and start looking at the men, as if pondering which one to choose. The others watch in horror as these men near their chosen captives, one by one, and secure them with a control pole before bashing them over their heads with a hammer, thus knocking them out. Alec is met with this same fate, especially due to the racket he's causing. The men near his cage, and despite his resistance, they knock him out with a harsh blow to the head. The unconscious victims are then loaded onto a trolley and taken to a slaughterhouse through streets filled with people, all of whom treat this as customary. Upon reaching the slaughterhouse, a pig-masked man shakes the hand of the butcher, takes the men's accessories, and dumps them into a drawer. He then walks out of the slaughterhouse holding a bag filled with severed human arms. It is revealed that the compound is a farming commune full of silent people who wear animal masks at all times. The pig-masked guy leaves the arms at a restaurant and approaches a goat-faced man standing near a car. The goat face opens the trunk of his car and both the men pull out a cage from it, bearing a fresh victim. The men put this cage in a barn where several other humans are caged like livestock. After this, the pig face goes to meet the crooked-faced landlord. The landlord greets the pig face and asks a few questions, but as a response, the pig face just stares at him blankly. The landlord seems unperturbed by this and starts briefing him about a new catering order that has just been put in. They both then go to their workplace, the restaurant. The landlord starts giving orders to the several masked people there who are busy preparing food. Realizing they've run a little low on the food, the landlord decides to use some of the dairy livestock. They make their way to the dairy barn, where several women are caged. All of them have been forcibly inseminated to induce lactation. Machines are fastened to their breasts which milk them constantly. Upon reaching the farm, the landlord starts reviewing the women's milk production rates. The pig face notices that one of the women has recently given birth and is cradling a newborn in her arms. He opens her cage and takes the baby from the crying mother's arms. He takes it to a scale and weighs it. After this, he smashes the baby's skull on the ground, killing it in front of the mother's eyes, and discards the body. The mother bangs at her cage, watching her newborn die helplessly. The landlord and the pig face leave as the mother hysterically cries for her child. One of the commune people, an unmasked slow-minded man named Andrew, attempts to console her, though he speaks to her like a pet. The enraged woman lashes out at him, calling him sick and a retard. Furious and hurt, he calls her a bad human. One of the hands comes to investigate the dairy barn and immediately goes out to the landlord. The landlord is seen engaged in conversation with someone on the phone who has complained about a tooth in the catered food. The hand comes and whispers something in the pig face's ear. They all go to the farm after this to see that Andrew had killed the woman who screamed at him earlier. Disappointed, the landlord orders the others to find Andrew. In the stables, Nora discovers another captive next to her stall, a woman who is being milked by a machine. Nora asks her what's going on. The woman, who seems to have completely lost all hope, tells her she doesn't want to know. When Nora asks how she can get out, the woman tells her that she simply can't. The woman explains that the people who run the place spied on Nora and Alec at the rest stop they passed. She further informs Nora that she's been held at the farm for over 2 years now and has been bred to the point where she can't get pregnant anymore. Since she will no longer be of use as a producer of milk, she will soon be slaughtered for meat. Another woman's cries are then heard. The woman tells Nora that the crying woman is Ashley, who's been here for 2 weeks. Nora tells Ashley that they'll soon escape. Ashley, however, refuses to believe this, saying no matter how many times or how hard they try, they always find them. Elsewhere, one of the masked men finds Andrew in the slaughterhouse, playing with a pair of decapitated heads. Upon realizing he's been found, Andrew starts saying that it wasn't his fault, that he was provoked to do what he did by the mean woman. The man pays no heed to his blabber and drags him back to the landlord. The landlord scolds Andrew for leaving his post at the gas station and tells him to stop playing with food. He tells him that he has caused them the loss of a perfectly healthy adult who was providing them with milk. Andrew apologizes to the landlord for his mistake. The landlord thus puts him under the supervision of one of the farmhands and tells him to help out with the livestock. While giving the caged people food, Andrew accidentally spills it on the floor and runs outside. The pig face chases after him, but Andrew goes to the greenhouse, grabs oregano, and runs to the landlord in the kitchen. The landlord takes it and praises Andrew, almost as if he were his pet. When the pursuing farmhand comes in to reprimand Andrew, the landlord tells him to forget about Andrew and take care of the woman who is no longer producing milk. The man goes to the stables to the woman next to Nora's stall. Nora watches as the woman is slaughtered and hacked to pieces like meat before her eyes. As the butchers leave, Nora collapses in despair. A moment later, she's roused by a sound at her door. Her door opens to reveal a blood-spattered and injured Alec. The two escape the stables quietly, attempting to avoid the farmhands. Nora supports an injured Alec across the property to a truck. She tries to start it, but it doesn't. As a masked man approaches, the two are forced to sneak away. They come across a church and quickly get inside. While sitting in there to catch their breath, they notice that the faces of Jesus and his followers have been replaced with the faces of farm animals. A cow-masked man soon enters the church, and the couple immediately hides. The man starts praying at a pew, but some noise makes him look back to see the couple sneaking out. The cowman rings a bell, alerting the rest of the farm about their escape. While running, Alec's foot is caught in a bear trap. Nora tries to free him, but after realizing that it's of no use, she abandons Alec and flees as the farmhands approach. Alec lies on the ground, helplessly, at the mercy of his captors. The masked men approach him and crush his head with a rock. Nora runs to the male's barn and gets inside a cage as the landlord comes in. One of the male captives sees her, and silently signals to her to stay hidden. When the landlord leaves, Nora quickly rushes to the man's cage and begs him to tell her how to get off the farm. The man tells her about a bus the farmhands use to transport their catch. He tells her the location of its keys and says she can use it to escape. Nora thanks him and rushes out. She manages to reach a lot unnoticed, where several cars are parked. She sees a few hammers in a bucket nearby and grabs one. A masked person is standing ahead near his car with his back turned to Nora. Nora approaches him and knocks him out with a hard blow to the head. She tries to remove his mask, but 3 masked men start advancing towards her from a distance. Alarmed, she gets in the man's car and starts it. However, she's only able to drive briefly before the car runs out of gas. She gets out of the car and runs through the grounds as the men start tailing her. She runs into an empty restaurant and notices that the men are still behind her. She rushes through the kitchen and goes into the basement. She sees a window there and starts pulling at it to open it. The men reach her and start trying to pull her back through the metal pipes. She cries out in pain as one firmly clenches her hair in a fist and pulls. The window opens by this time and she rushes out. The men start pulling at her feet, but she stabs one of them in the hand and flees. She makes her way to the stables and frees Ashley. The women reach the bus used for the transportation of fresh victims but realize that the keys are not in the bus. Nora goes to the nearby house from where the male prisoner stated she could get the keys, and pulls the keys from a desk through the window. She then rushes back to the vehicle and gets in the driver's seat. Ashley also boards the bus, but looking back into it, she stops dead in her tracks. Nora successfully starts the bus and looks back at Ashley in triumph. Her smile, however, falters as she sees Ashley standing at the back, frozen at her spot. Nora then notices the reason for her terror. The bus is filled with several masked people who sit there as if they've been awaiting them. Later, the masked people from the farm are seen gathered at a table. 2 dishes are laid out on the table in front of them. Nora and Ashley prepared like roasted pigs with apples in their mouths. With this, the movie ends. Thank you so much for watching.